Hi, y'all. This is Genevieve with Belladonna and Moonbeams. How are y'all doing? I'm going to diverge a little bit today and talk about something a little more serious, and that's our shadow work. And if you're like I was even a year ago, I was like, what's shadow work? Well, the shadow is a side of yourself that we're in denial about. You're like, what? How are we denying about ourselves? Well, the deal is we all carry hurts that we've forgotten, or that we don't understand why we react the way we do. For example, one time my son made me said something to me, and it wasn't all that bad, and I reacted. And then I had to stop and realize that I was reacting to the past things he said to me, not to the current thing he had just said. And I had to apologize. So that would be a small shadow. But then there's other things where, for example, I was told by my mother that I would be so beautiful if only I would lose weight. So I still feel overweight and not pretty. I've gotten better at it, don't get me wrong. Over the years, I've done a lot of shadow work on it, not even realizing it was shadow work. For example, I would tell myself that I look good today or that I look pretty today. And if I wear eye makeup, I feel pretty. Therefore, you will always see me wearing eye makeup because it makes me feel pretty. But it took me a long time to realize what harm she had caused. And she didn't mean to cause it. Most people don't. Carl Jung, who I don't know if you know who he is. If you don't, he was like, everybody knows who Sigmund Freud was. Well, Carl Jung is kind of like Sigmund Freud. He lived back in the day, and he did a lot of work on psychology and wrote a lot of books in psychology. And he even has a form of psychology named for him, Jungian. And it's Jung. And he said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. They will practice Indian yoga and all of its exercises, observe a strict regimen of diet, learn the literature of the whole world, all because they cannot get on with themselves and have not the slightest faith that anything useful could ever come out of their own souls. Thus, the soul has gradually been turned into a Nazareth from which nothing good can come. And when I first read that, I thought, what? What do you mean by Nazareth? And then there was a thing in the Bible where it says that nothing good could come from Nazareth. And that, in fact, that's why some people didn't accept Jesus as a Messiah. I've printed out some of these quotes, so I'm going to turn the page because I can't memorize everybody else's writing or words. I can only memorize mine sometimes. So to me, shadow work is those hidden things that we don't even know why we're doing. What started me on this shadow journey, well, I was already on it, but I didn't realize it. But what made me come face to face that this is what I'm doing is I had a dream a while back where I was walking. Well, I saw these trees that formed a natural arbor, and over them was the sword, well, like two swords or two branches that were crossed like the swords in the Two of Swords. And that's one where you have to make a decision. You have to look at it and make a decision. And I realized that if I walked through that arbor, I would be forced to make a decision. Well, this is me, so of course I'm going to go make decisions, and off I go. And I had to walk up some stairs, and I couldn't see them at a distance. When I got there, I could see them. And when I stood up under the arbor, a voice said, do you choose love or do you choose hate? Do you choose despair or do you choose love? And it went on and asked things that anger versus love, everything, and the ones you expect. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can do that. I always chose love. And then it said, do you choose judgment or do you choose love? And when they said that one I had to think about. Because how many of us judge people for no reason? When we put a woman down just because she's doing something womanly, Or manly, when we put a guy down for being manly. Or when we're in Walmart or Target or whatever, and someone comes in and they're not all that clean, or their outfit is horrible, and we judge them. Or what about somebody who we're judging because they're too fat or too thin? Judgment. And when I heard that, I'm going to cry. When this dream asked me that question, I realized just how judgy and unloving I can be. So since then, I've worked really hard at not judging people. When I hear myself saying something that is body shaming in my head, I'm not saying it out loud, but in my mind, I cancel it out, and then I try to say something positive in my brain, because I don't want to be an unloving person. I want to be loving. So that has been some of my own shadow work because of that dream. But then I had to figure out, why am I this judgy? Well, my mom taught me a lot of this, because she would say, Michelle, Genevieve. Michelle was my adopted name. Genevieve is my birth name. She would say, you would be so pretty if only you would lose weight. So I choose love. And I'm not going to let her saying that judge me. But when I see overweight people, and I spent most of my life being overweight, in fact, I'm still considered overweight, that I have to cancel that out and come up with something different and not judge. She also used to make comments about people with bad teeth. Same problem. Got to say it. And I'm carrying a lot of those shadows inside of me, and I have to get rid of them. Osho said, positive thinking is simply the philosophy of hypocrisy, to give it the right name. What? When you are feeling like crying, it teaches you to sing. You can manage it if you try, but those repressed tears will come out at some point, like they just did. In some situations, there is a limitation to repression. And the song that you were singing was absolutely meaningless. You were not feeling it. It was not born out of your heart. And that really resonated with me again. Makes me cry again. Because how much of my stuff, when I was kidnapped and raped, and I know I've talked about this before, and I'll probably talk about it again because I probably got some shadow work there. When I was kidnapped and raped, afterwards, when I was talking to the cop, I made stupid jokes. And he even said, well, you're doing okay. You're laughing. And I told him, it's either to laugh and make stupid jokes, or I will be bawling all over the place. What do you want? And then I went home and I bawled for 3 days. I really did. But then I stuffed it down, and I didn't finish the mourning. You don't mourn something that egregious in 3 days. That's like the artificial thing of, we give people 3 days to go grieve someone's death. In Jewish law, they would grieve for a month. Well, they'd grieve for a whole year. And that's good. I remember when my husband died, that first month, I just bawled and bawled and bawled and bawled and bawled. And I ate a lot of ice cream, because that ice cream was helping me stuff things down. And for a year, it was still really hard. Now I'm pretty much okay, and I can see it for what it was. But I mean, the grieving and everything, and also the fact that I believe in an afterlife. So I believe he's gone on to a better place. So, and I've come to realize that grieving is for us, not for them, because they are in a better place. The grieving is because we're left behind and we miss them. But if we believe in an afterlife, we believe I believe in the spirit world. I believe we came from the spirit world and we will return to the spirit world. And if I truly believe that, why am I crying? Just saying. So Steve Wolf says, beneath the social mask we wear every day, we have a hidden shadow side, an impulsive, wounded, sad, or isolated part that we are generally trying to ignore. Ding! The shadow can be a source of emotional richness and vitality, and acknowledging it can be a pathway to healing and an authentic life. Well, we all say we want an authentic life, but are we willing to do the work? So, Carl Jung said, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. In AA and NA, they say you're only as sick as your secrets. That's what Carl Jung just said. He just said it prettier. And that's truth. After this year, when I put on Facebook about having been kidnapped and raped because I wanted to find my rapist and forgive him, then I talked about it here on my YouTube channel. I've been doing a lot of that shadow work and a lot of that healing, and I've been talking about it like I probably should have back in 1988, but instead I stuffed that down because somehow it made me feel less than because I was raped. I didn't ask to be raped, but somehow it made me feel bad because I was in the wrong for having picked him up hitchhiking. No, I wasn't. I was trying to be a nice person. That's so wrong. So, one of the things we can do for helping with shadow work is believe you are worthwhile. You are worthwhile. 2, pay attention to the emotions you're feeling. Like I'm crying. But also, when you get angry and it doesn't make sense to you, like, why am I angry? Because it's probably something from back in the day. Or why don't I like that in that person? Well, you may not like it in that person because you don't like it in yourself. And it might be something you've got to work on. And the next one is identify the shadow, which goes back to number 2. Pay attention to the emotions. Because how are you going to identify where they're coming from unless you go ahead and identify them? Give yourself compassion. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed. Now, that does not mean you want to stay there all the time, but it's okay to have those feelings. Explore the shadow. That could be journaling, write yourself a letter, meditate, feel, and dream. And I couldn't do this last night. I had decided to do this, and I just couldn't do it. So I put it off till this morning, which mostly I do the videos the night before so that I don't have to get up early in the morning. And apparently my cats knew the turmoil I was going through because all 3 of them slept up against me. And they don't do that. I mean, when they do sleep in the bed, they'll sleep over by the window so they can watch cat TV. Well, in this case, that cat, my black cat, Raven, who always likes to watch cat TV out the window, was slurped up against me all night long because she was taking care of me. They all were, because they recognized that I was going through something. Good cats. And finally, nurture your inner child. You know, sometimes you just want to go eat ice cream. Or sometimes you don't feel like eating vegetables. Or whatever. It's okay. Nurture your inner child. But let yourself do the healing because, you know, all these things that we do in this world, so many of them are based upon ignoring that shadow child. Eating to cover your emotions. Gambling, drinking, doing drugs, shopping too much. Do you know how many women I know went crazy shopping on Amazon during COVID shutdown? Much. So, because we didn't have anything else to do. We need to do work on our shadows. We need to heal. And we need to choose love. Namaste, y'all. If you want to do a private reading, send me a text, 405-512-9400. Also, send me your yes and no questions. Send me a text with that, with your first name, 405-512-9400. And go on ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll never miss another video or another me crying again. Bye.